The Force was an energy field that connected all living things in the galaxy. The power of the Force could be used by individuals who were sensitive to it. A power that was harnessed through midichlorians. The Force had many alternative names. The Lasats, for example, used to call him the Ashla, and described him as the spirit of the galaxy, while Omi, a Dianoga, simply referred to the Force as she. The Force as a recorded concept existed for over 25,000 years. The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some considered to be unnatural. Sheev Palpatine. The dark side of the Force, or dark reverse of the Force, was an aspect of the Force. People who used the dark side derived their power from unleashed emotions such as anger, hatred, and aggression. The Sith were the greatest practitioners of the dark side and were the mortal enemies of the Jedi Order, which followed the light side of the Force. There were others like the Inquisition, who also exploited the powers of the dark side. Darth Sidious believed that the source of the dark side's power came from the universe that extends beyond our maps. Definition: the dark side of the Force is associated with the cruelest and most evil aspects of the Force, from the perspective of sentient beings, such as death, suffering, corruption, and domination, among others. It is also aligned with the quest for supreme power, the primal desire of all living beings to increase their capabilities and their dominance over the environment, including other beings, to exercise their will without opposition. Nature of the dark side. According to Sith philosophy, the natural state of things is a perpetual conflict that forces all living beings to grow and adapt, leading to the supremacy of the most powerful and the extermination or enslavement of the weakest, an extreme Darwinism, which gradually leads to the perfection of the survivors. Thus, the Force is a tool in the hands of its users, and delving into its mysteries leads to understanding this fundamental truth: that all relationships between sentient beings are conditioned by their power and drives, leading them to the state of perpetual conflict mentioned above. This clashes head-on with the Jedi vision of the Force as a cohesive and benevolent element for the galaxy, which also conditions the future of those sensitive to it by being mere tools in the hands of the Force. For Sith philosophy, the Force does not deny free will, but rather encourages it by giving power to its users, although paradoxically, users of the dark side tend to be increasingly paranoid and slaves to their passions. This could be resolved by arguing that only those users with an iron will can prolonged use of the powers of the dark side without succumbing to its self-destructive effects. Thus, the Force itself is a cruel method of natural selection, feeding on the weak wills and rewarding the strong. Emotions, core of power. The dark side of the Force is nourished by the unleashed emotions of its users, both positive, euphoria, passion, joy, and negative, frustration, anger, fear, sadism. But given the predatory philosophy and nature of the dark side, the latter are much more encouraged, as they predispose the appropriate mental state to exercise indiscriminate domination without any consideration for others. This causes users of the dark side to be aggressive, sometimes to the point of dementia, cynical, psychopathic, and with an extremely developed survival instinct. In the case of the Sith, they emphasize the desire for self-improvement as a positive emotion and anger and frustration as negative emotions. They consider their understanding of the Force to be far more complete than that of their enemies, as they recognize the natural and inevitable role of emotions as a catalyst for Force powers, while the Jedi try in vain to place themselves apart from them, progressing much more slowly and unsatisfactorily. But like the Jedi, they explicitly discourage love. They believe it leads to mercy, self-sacrifice, and the cessation of ambition, things that are anathema to their philosophy.